You don't know at the time that it's happening, that you're in the process of learning. Fox has a mind for the business that's crazy. They just don't train people like they used to. Storytelling, which I love. That's what really matters to me. That's what I feel like that's my niche. I needed to get the point across as soon as you saw the label. I'm able to tell a story, and that's what I value the most. I've never had a brother, but like he might be the closest thing. If you believe in what you're saying, it all becomes copacetic. Brother, what do they say? Man, I shit the bed.
Call it how I see it, straight talk, no disguise. Southern slang dripping, got the truth in my eyes. Might like gavel, every word lay it down. Coach C in the booth, turn the game all around. Yeah, it's Coach C, he the best for business. It's Coach C, he the best for business. Yeah, I'm sharp as a tack when I call the play-by-play. Every dog got his day, and I make the crowd stay. Cause every week we go live on a Wednesday. Dressing so sharp, that's a reason why your friends stay. The youngest in the game to do it, best for business. Coach C is the truth and everybody gonna witness. Love entertainment, you swear it's your destiny. Link with Coach C, we can talk about your legacy. It's Coach C, he the best for business. It's Coach C, he the best for business.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Another episode of Best for Business. Very excited for this one. David Ali, thank you for joining me for this one.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm excited for this one. When I interviewed AC Mack last year, came up in conversation with Vic Capri recently. You've come up, so thank you so much for all you've done in wrestling.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
So I'm curious, you have a storied career. Originally, what was that thing about pro wrestling that even interests you at first about it?
Man, I'm not too exactly sure what it was. I actually hate my answer for this particular question. Just because like wrestling was always like in the background or something like that for me anyway. It was always on like on television or something like that. Um, it was natural, just as natural as like a sitcom or like a drama or something like that, you know? And what really captivated me about it, I guess, around like seventh grade or so, I started really understanding what it was they were doing, the pageantry behind it, you know? And um, it was like from that moment, I was like hooked, honestly. I feel like that sounds cheesy or like, or like typical or something, but like that's exactly how it feels, man. I was hooked.
Wow. So you get hooked at seventh grade originally. Like, what's David Ali's background when it comes to sports and everything before pro wrestling?
I tried to do a lot of stuff in
Okay.
high school. Unfortunately, I tore a ligament a few times in my knee, and it just prevented me from doing a lot of stuff. But I was on the wrestling team briefly, and I was on. I basically the only thing I did that was athletic, I guess, was ROTC. They had like the cadet challenge and things like that, and that was really cool. So I got to do that, and to me, that's like everything. It's weightlifting, it's cardio, it's like endurance and things like that. So like that kind of like prepared me for I guess the boot camp, you know, for pro wrestling, if you will.
Wow. So you do everything with the ROTC. So what is your approach to independent wrestling? Like you said originally, was that pageantry and everything. How do you come across the independents and say, "Oh, this is something you want to do"?
Um, I don't know. Like I see the independence
Mhm.
the same as like as TV wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, it's all the same beast to me because I find that like the best TV performers are guys who've been on the indies,
Yeah.
and this is just a place where you learn, where you mold your craft, and that's where you know TV is just where like you solidify that art craft. So like to me, it's all relative.
Wow. So how do you come across independent wrestling originally? I know you said you watched it on TV in seventh grade. How do you come across it later on?
Man, so when I got into wrestling, when I first started training, it was still kind of like a well-kept secret how to train. It was like 2016 or 2015 around that
Mm.
time. Um, and you really had to do like your research. I looked online And I once I realized that somebody like myself, because like growing up, like all you would ever see are guys like Hogan and Nash, and just like really like giant guys,
Yeah.
really muscular dudes, and guys who are even still like relatively tall, but like maybe like leaner, like the Hardys.
Hmm.
They were considered like smaller guys. So like there was no chance that I thought that I could ever be a wrestler. But I saw guys like Punk, who at the time wasn't like the best looking athlete, and I was like, well, I could work out and look like that. And then I saw Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, however you'd want to call
Yeah.
him. I saw him, and him and I are like the same height. So I'm like, man, not only is he my height, but he's also a little jacked as well. So I know I could probably get even more jacked or just as jacked. And I know that I understand acting, and I'm just as athletic as these guys. So two and two together, um, I could definitely do something like this. So like once I started looking for different ways to get into it, I found out there were schools, and I lived in Chattanooga at the time, and there was one in Atlanta, Georgia, WWA 4, and it was headlined at the time by Mr. Hughes, but it was quickly taken over when by the time I joined by AR Fox, thank God. um, and that's where I got my real introduction to indie wrestling, because other than like being like a hardcore like independent wrestling fan, you would never have heard of like independent wrestling because there's not a lot of it in the South anymore.
Hmm.
A lot of it matriculated like in the Midwest or like up north and things like that. And I got a real like introduction. Everybody was telling me about like all these different promotions, and all these different things that I could watch on YouTube. And that's pretty much where my education started, was at WWA 4. And
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
You said you were in Chattanooga. What's like the drive to the wrestling school from your house? Like, how far were you driving there?
Also I moved. I
Okay.
had to move. But otherwise it'd be like a 2.5 hour. There were some guys, one of my buddies, Shaft, he actually lived in Chattanooga. He's a wrestler, he's still a wrestler these days. Um he was the AAW Pro Tag Team Champion.
Nice.
But he lived in Chattanooga and trained at WWE for a while, and he made the drive 2 hours. But like that's what you do when like you want to make something of yourself, and that's what I try to tell like some of the younger people these days.
What was it like training under AR Fox or just being a part of that group in general? Because I'm 21 right now, but I remember when I was like 12 years old, like AC Mack, Tommy Maserati, Bobby Flacco, like you guys had that like stacked lineage over there. So what was it like learning from AR Fox in general?
Man, I man, it was very rewarding, if
Hmm.
if if there if there's just, I guess, a word to sum it up. And I wish you don't know at the time that it's happening, that you're in the process of learning, that those are going to be the things um, that you want to keep forever with you. Um, but in hindsight, those are like the best moments of some of the best moments of my career, man. And like that class I came up with and help guide through and help graduate, like those are some of the most gifted people that's probably ever gonna like come through the industry. And it's insane that we're all in like one place at one time. And Fox is Fox has a mind for the business that's crazy. And the more that I actually come across like younger people, whether it's like in the Midwest or the South, the Southeast,
Hmm.
or like wherever it is I'm wrestling at, it's just a reminder that like they just don't train people like they used to. And Fox was like, he's a dying breed, man. And anybody who's lucky enough to train with him is just that, lucky enough. as far as like how to execute moves and how to without going too insider baseball,
Hmm.
how to execute moves and how to sell properly. Fox is the man, you know.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for forever, you know, and there's a reason why he's been at the top for forever. And there's a reason why like the people from that class that he was the most heavily involved with like are still around, you know, still doing stuff.
Yeah. For you personally, is there like a lesson from AR Fox that still sticks out to you to this day?
Um there's many different things that like that pop in and out anytime that like I'm planning something um or like an experience that I've had or something like that. There's not a time that I don't like go to a show or leave a show without having thought about something that I did with Fox.
Hmm.
But one thing though, if I may, there's one thing that I use when I do try to educate people on like lifting in matches, because there's a lot of times where like younger people will plan something in their match where they have to lift someone else, and they, you know, don't all the way commit to it, you know?
Hmm.
And to prevent that from happening, I always tell people that I think about this one moment. I'm wrestling Lee Johnson at WWE 4 Thursday Night Live. It's on YouTube. It's one of my favorite matches. We're both super young. If you want to go back and watch it, you're gonna see Lee looking like a baby. Like
Wow.
I don't,
Yeah.
I don't know what you call a baby shotgun, but like
Yeah.
Pistol Lee Johnson maybe.
Wow. Yeah.
Um,
I'll put
uh,
clips in there as you talk about it. Oh yeah.
oh man, that would be lit. Yeah, you should
Yeah.
do that. But uh we get to a spot where like we're just trading things. He gives me like a Rana. I go to the outside. He's going to give me a Rana again, and I catch him and I hoist him up to give him a buckle bomb to the outside post.
Hmm.
And I get him down here by the wayside, and I'm trying to hoist him up. And I haven't done like too many of these situations before. And
Okay. Yeah.
and again, we're at a training school and it's a training school show. So this is exactly what we're here for.
Hmm.
So I got him here by the wayside and I'm getting ready to hoist him up. And the only thing you could hear outside of everybody like cheering for the match, the only thing you can hear is Fox go, "Lift him up, Dave." And I think about that every time I get ready to like have like a spot in a match where like I have to catch somebody or lift somebody up,
Hmm.
or when I'm helping somebody like remember that or think about that as far as like committing to something in the match. Lift them up, Dave, because you got to like in those
Cool.
situations.
Wow. You talk about especially learning from Air Fox, especially you talk about moving all the way down so you could train near him. Originally, what's like the wrestling scene in that area? I know Georgia. I know after years later, everything with a Nightmare Factory and all that stuff, like it's starting to grow in Atlanta. But originally, when you first started, what is like the wrestling scene in that area?
Like originally in Georgia, what was it
When you
like?
first started, yeah, was there many companies or how was it for you guys? Because I know when AC, when I interviewed him, he said at times like you guys were just getting carloads together and travel a lot. But for you, what was it like originally?
Yeah. Well, him and I, we started same day.
Wow.
Um, Austin Theory started like maybe like a couple of weeks before that.
Hmm.
So like we're all Fox's first. The three of us were Fox's first three guys.
Hmm.
Um, and I would agree with that. With what he said, it would just be a bunch of dudes getting into a car and trying to get to a show. You know, one of us would be booked, and the others would be like, "Yo, we'll just come with you, see if we can get booked." But as far as like the training scene was concerned, like uh, when WWA 4, when I moved there, WWE 4 was like the only one that was like pumping out people. When I first got there, it was a little bit stagnant. They hadn't really pumped out anybody like in a while, and the scene was really, really old school.
Okay.
Very like brother, you
Hmm.
know, very Crockett style, if you will.
Yeah.
And like once I'm not, man, I don't know what it was, but like wrestling, you often hear that wrestling goes through like peaks and valleys, and it's always like changing on a pendulum, like whatever's popular. One minute it's gonna be like flips and stuff, and then next minute it's gonna be character work, and the next minute it's gonna be promos and
Hmm.
whatever looks, muscles, body guys. Um, at the time, like it wrestling was going towards a new age way of how matches were done.
Okay.
Um, People like your Seth Rollins, like those type of matches,
Hmm.
the Ring of Honor style matches, what would become known as NXT Black and Gold. Like those kinds of matches were starting to come into the forefront, and they weren't doing that in Georgia. It was still very like old school storytelling, which I love.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
I feel like I thrive in that zone. But I really love the athleticism and stuff. So like that black and gold was really like my was the best of both worlds for me because it wasn't just Ring of Honor, like move for move, match rate
Yeah.
work, but it was also storytelling. There was stakes, there was emotion, and that's what I love about pro wrestling as a whole. And Fox was teaching us all that. And so once like Mack and Theory were the first to like really like get that style over in our area. And it took me, I'll admit, it took me a while to catch up. And they even thought that I wasn't going to be able to even do it at all.
Wow.
Like there was a moment there where I had my graduation match with Fox, and brother, what did they say? Man, I shit the bed.
Okay.
I completely just I I don't know what happened.
Hmm.
I'm glad that it happened. I always tell younger people that they need to fail because once they fail, they either get that out their system or they learn from it, and
Hmm.
hopefully it's both. Um, but you know, we once I was able to catch up, and then we got Alan Angels and Tommy Maserati and Danny Jordan, and then we had like a full crew of like just like problems. Then it forced other people to like, oh man, I gotta step up my game. And then one fall, which would become Nightmare Factory, came around, and then other people not started mimicking the style that we were doing, but
Hmm.
understanding that there was a new age of wrestling, a new style of wrestling that was at the forefront, so they were teaching it too.
Wow.
Which wasn't a problem at all.
Yeah.
But at first it was very like it was very cold, but once Fox, gave us the tools that we needed, we kind of like we kind of like changed it, honestly. I don't want to take credit for that, but like we were like the ones to like help implement the style of or bring in the new age style of wrestling to the Southeast, or at least in Georgia, I would
Hmm.
say. Um, and you hear all the time, like bookers and promoters and stuff, they would just be like, "Man, those A4 guys, we haven't seen you guys like you in such a long time since the last crop of A4 guys that like everybody was so like high on and stuff like that." And we were really bringing the name back, you
Wow.
know?
You mentioned you wrestling AR Fox in the graduation match. So what do you guys do at your school? Like, is there a point or a moment where he thinks you're ready to graduate, or how does that work for your school?
Yeah, just like many other wrestling academies,
Hmm.
wrestling schools, uh, the trainer will feel like you're ready. Hopefully, like the school will have like either like a show to some degree, whether it's a school show or
Hmm.
like in freelance case where they have like the freelance show and it's the show themselves itself, and then they have the freelance underground training. So when you do have your graduation match, you either get to be like, it's at the show. You get to show everybody like what you learn, and it's
Okay.
time to like, go out there. And I hate to say put up or shut up because that implies like, that implies like, a forceful amount of pressure, but
Yeah.
like, you know, it is your time to shine, if you will.
Yeah. So David Ali has accomplished so much in wrestling, but originally you don't start as David Ali. Is it Raz Ali you start as?
Oh man, this
What were
man did
you
his
going for
homework.
when you first started originally?
So when I first started, the idea that I had that I wanted to convey was I wanted to be like a cult leader, which I ended up doing later on as the savior. But initially, I was Raish Ali,
Okay.
and it was a playoff for Ra's al Ghul, the Batman villain. I'm half Indian, so it was a homage to like that part of my background.
Okay.
So, but nobody could pronounce it, you know. And again, I guess you could say that I could have leaned into it and been like the heel that was, making everybody pronounce it. But at the same time, we were in the South, and I didn't need to give, from my perspective, I didn't want to give people any kind of leeway to be arbitrary unnecessarily, you know. Um, and at times there were. I didn't go many places with it, but I was thinking bigger picture. Um, so David Ali
Yeah.
was everybody can say David. Everybody said David is one of the more basic names. It's my real name.
Yeah.
Um, so that was the way to go.
Was there like a moment where you realized it's time to be David Ali, or was just like over time, like you said, people couldn't pronounce it or all that? Or was there like a defining moment where you said like it's time for a change?
It didn't. Rachel Ali didn't last very long.
Okay.
It was once I did get a cool chant, Trash Ali, which was really cool, because I was a heel, so it worked out.
Hmm.
But I just was thinking long term. I wanted people to be. I was thinking about merch. I was thinking about like if I got signed tomorrow, how could I be marketed? Could people say my name? If I were, because just even for example, when you did your research and you asked me about it, how did you pronounce it?
I think Roz, like I said, R A apostrophe S usually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like it's already, but it's pronounced Rach.
Okay.
So like it's already boo boo from the beginning. So
Yeah.
like my idea, and that can work for other people, right? But for me, my idea was I needed to get the point across as soon as you saw the label,
Okay.
and especially I feel like I convey that now with the current iteration of my brand, David Ali Wrestling, because it says everything you need to know.
Yeah. If someone was to ask you, I know you talked about cult leader originally, but who is David Ali when you first started? What were you going for? I know because you've evolved so far a lot in pro wrestling, but what was the original idea behind David Ali, you think?
Um, so when I first started, and the Raish Ali gimmick didn't work. Originally, before the Raish Ali gimmick, I really wanted to be the Street Fighter because I thought it would be a cool meta way to be like I'm a wrestler.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because every wrestler is a Street Fighter technically, and
Hmm.
everybody knows Street Fighter. Everybody gets it, right?
Yeah.
And so I figured it'd just be like a cool meta way to just be like I'm a wrestler, and everybody hated that. It is what it seemed like anyway. I was a good baby face. I was a good worker. Everybody saw potential in me. They just hated the gimmick. And I had catchphrases and I made it work as much as I could,
Hmm.
but it didn't work. But I don't believe in scrapping things and just starting all over and then going to like the next thing. Um, Triple H, for all intents and purposes, was my favorite wrestler, and only because of his character lineage. He knew who he was. He's always been the same person ever since. You know what I mean? And I always tell like the younger people too these days, like, know thyself. Once you know yourself, everything falls in line. What you're gonna do, why you do it, and what you're gonna do afterwards. You know. But yeah, the Street Fighter was a guy who was, and in many ways, the iteration of David Ali now is just, I guess, a proper version of the Street Fighter, where the Street Fighter was just like a fighting babyface. From night to night, he came to fight for all the people in the crowd. He was the champion of the streets. That was the other moniker that he had. But yeah, he's just a fighting babyface. Um, but it's hard to do without any nuance behind, and that's why people typically hate baby faces when they first debut anywhere, because they come out and they're shiny and
Yeah.
they're cheesy, and everybody, especially after the 90s, everybody hates that like initial drop of a baby face. Everybody likes a little edge.
Yeah. So you talk about David Ali, the Street Fighter, everything you got to do. What would you consider your first big opportunity when it comes to pro wrestling? Maybe somebody you faced or an opportunity for promotion. What would you consider the first for you?
um I there's two sets of opportunities, right?
Okay.
Because I think the first opportunity that I got on the indies is kind of what led into my first opportunity on TV.
Hmm.
Um, I worked for a promotion called Southern Honor, and that'll always be like my heart, no matter like what happens. That'll always be the place that really like let me be who I am today. It's if it wasn't for that place, I probably wouldn't be we wouldn't be sitting here talking, honestly.
Wow.
I have it it's the only promotion I have tattooed on me.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
know, I have an affinity for that place.
Hmm.
But they had all the production at the time, or not all, but most of the production from AEW, um, the camera guys and the editing team. So I was very fortunate to be able to, and at the time, they had only been around for like 3 years. I had been with them from the start, but once I had got the push, that gave me the opportunity that we're talking about here.
Yep.
Um, they had only been around for like 3 years and were still trying to prove that they were like the best company in Georgia. Meanwhile, there were other companies that had been around for like 10, 20 years, other companies that were trying to come up and be the same, but nobody could match Southern Honor's production and the wrestling and the people who wanted to be involved. And I then became champion of it. And they really went out of their way to allow me to artic artistically express myself, if you
Okay.
will.
Yeah.
And if it was not for that, and them allowing me to be the savior and go into all the character depths that I wanted to go into, and getting to do all the promos, the vignettes, um, all the things that made the savior. I would not have even gotten a chance, I don't think, to have worked on AEW Dark,
Wow.
and I think that would be my other, because I think to this day, anybody who knows anything about me, they're gonna know me from those two things. Southern Honor, especially because like Southern Honor at the time when I was champion, not because I was champion, but just because of Southern Honor, the
Yeah.
product. It was a huge thing on the indies. Lots of people wanted to be on it, and then AEW came out, and then I was there. So like any time that I find that like for the most part, anybody that knows anything about me is from one of those two things. It's either going to be from Southern Honor or it's going to be from AEW. Lots of people think I was signed there, and I was never signed there. But
Wow. Yeah.
I had a few matches on there, and I got to wrestle a lot of guys, a lot of great dudes, and I got to make a lot of good connects there, and some of them that I still hold to this day. And I think those are probably my so not just one, just two.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask you about both. First, Southern Honor. Is there like a match you'd point somebody to if they were to ask you about your time in Southern Honor, or even as champ or not? Is there a match you'd point them to?
There are so I had so Southern Honor runs monthly, right?
Mhm.
So like the continuity and the time runs differently than it would for like fans when they watch like a weekly product like
Yeah.
Raw or SmackDown, or even like indie shows that have like two shows a month.
Hmm.
So like one show is like five shows almost, right?
Yeah.
So like I had 10 matches as champion. So I was champion for 10 months. And out of those 10 matches, man, like there's so many like pivots, turns, ups, downs. Like it's like I got to wrestle Joe Black, who's like a crazy, insane wrestler in Georgia
Mhm.
who should be like all over the place. Um, I am actually the one who accidentally created Cruel, not accidentally,
Wow.
but yeah, he allowed me to be a part in that origin story. You know, I got to do that there. I got to do so many cool things there. I was involved in two War Chamber matches, which is like the Indies version of the War Games,
Yeah, you
with
don't see
two
those a lot in
rings.
the indies, so the fact you're involved in two that stands out.
Exactly, and they both hurt. But I would have to say my favorite match from all of those times that I wrestled. Um, there's just two. Again,
Mhm.
I'm the most indecisive person. Ask my
Yeah.
wife, will tell you. But there's two that I can just think of. Two that really like solidified we were going with the David Ali character, the
Mhm.
Savior character. Man, there might be three.
Maybe, yeah.
Um, yeah, it might be three. Now that I'm thinking about it. So we'll just go in chronological order.
Yeah.
Um, I had I just won the belt, right?
Mhm.
And I was in a faction called the New Era with Owen Knight and Danny Jordan.
Mhm.
And I blew up the faction because I wanted the belt. And I won the belt. And I portrayed Owen, who was supposed to be my best friend, to get the belt. So now we're Hell in a Cell. He's the number one contender. Or excuse me, it's not Hell in a Cell because we don't
Yeah, yeah,
we don't have those.
yeah,
It's it's just a cage match.
yeah.
Um, but we have Danny Jordan as the special guest referee, and at this point, nobody's seen Danny in a minute. And she comes back and she's like in the best shape of her life. She had been doing dark also, and
Mhm.
nobody had seen her like in a Southern Honor building in like a few months. So she comes back, and this is kind of like it's just a huge match. It had no reason feeling like a Mania match, but it felt like a Mania match. And like there's blood, there's storytelling, and it's just all the things that I love
Yeah, you said it
about pro
earlier.
wrestling, man.
Yeah.
It's insane. The second one, Dylan Freimer, who's the booker,
Mhm.
he's also a producer for AEW. He does WWE things sometimes too.
Nice.
Um, he's or a video editor, excuse me. I say producer like he's in charge of like everything.
Yeah.
I don't want to get him in trouble or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how much he does nowadays. But he's the booker of Southern Honor, and he also goes to Sunny Days as a wrestler, and he challenged me for the belt, and we had just like a banger for no reason, for all the same reasons that I love the Owen match in the cage. Just because it's storytelling, it's grit, it's violence, it's all the things that make wrestling like the wrestling for me. And I think the last one, I could think of so many more because
Yeah.
as I'm divulging these, I'm thinking of more.
Yeah.
But I think the last one, and I think I'll point this one out because it's special to me. I wrestled Carly Bravo in my last match in the Southeast region, so it was kind of like a farewell
Yeah,
match
you
for
send
me
off.
as I was
Yeah.
moving.
Yeah.
Um, and I got to choose my opponent, so I chose my best friend Carly, and we were in this faction called Overkill. And Overkill was never supposed to be a thing, but we ended up like being in like all the promotions in the southeast there in Georgia anyway. Um, and it was, I don't want to say it was unheard of, but there was only one other group that was doing that. And we did it to like a really cool like extent. And it was one of the things that that made that brought Georgia wrestling into like a newer age of wrestling. Um, but as all things do, it ended, and he turned on me,
Mhm.
and we just had this stupid and crazy match. I I'm sure you saw night two this year,
Yeah.
WrestleMania, but like I saw that match, and that's what makes me think of is stuff like that, where like two guys go in, they wrestle, and they wrestle, and they use that to tell the story. And all three times I said story, story,
Mhm.
story, 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 because that's what really matters to me. That's what I feel like that's my niche. That's why I get hired to do these things, is because like I'm able to tell a story, and that's what I value the most. And those matches are always going to be my favorite at Southern Honor, I think.
Wow. So you mentioned one opportunity led to the other. When you're talking about AEW, what was like your experience there in general? Because at that time, especially during the pandemic, mass recordings, a lot of matches back to back to back. For you, just how was the experience in general? Because at first, don't they start in Atlanta? I know they started maybe at the Nightmare Factory, but how was it at first for you?
They filmed the first couple episodes at the Nightmare Factory,
Mhm.
right? But they soon moved to Daly's Place in Jacksonville, and so we'd make the drive up there, which is about like 6 hours or so. It's not bad.
Okay.
It gets worse. It gets bad when it's like 10, 14, 16 hours. That's when
Yeah.
it's bad. But it was I would tell you this. QT, who I was fortunate enough to train with at the Nightmare Factory, um, he said something to me while I was getting those jobs there, and I think about it a lot, and I use it when I talk to younger people too. Doing that will make you realize if that's what you want to do, or if you need to get out, you know. And at the time that we were doing it, it was very different from how it's done now. Very, very different.
Mhm.
Like we would be there, we'd get there at like 8 a.m., 11 a.m., and be there till 5 a.m., and wrestling at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the cold outside because the stadium doesn't have like a cover.
Yeah.
Um, but hey man, I wrestled in a stadium like
Nuts.
several
Yeah.
times. Was it in a stadium full of people? Not all the time, and not full of people because of the pandemic, but not a lot of people are going to be able to get to say that, and not a lot of people are going to be able to get to say that they were one of the first ones that did that. um Not a lot of people, when the pandemic happened, they quit. They I don't want to say gave up, because that I feel like that paints the wrong picture of what
Mhm.
was happening at the time. But um the third reason why anybody would know who I am is because I wrestled during the pandemic, and a lot of people weren't. And that's some of the credit that I get, along with the other peers that I have that wrestled during the pandemic, is that we wrestled during the pandemic, and like it wasn't seen as like a big thing, but like there weren't a lot of people still trying to do it,
Yeah.
and or still trying to do it, and then doing it into a crescendo, and not being stagnant or not devolving, um, trying to capitalize on
Yeah.
it. Um, and there was a few of us who were just like trying to make the best of it. And a lot of people did, like your Red Velvets, like your Kylan Kings. Lots of people came out of that, like Lee Johnson, Alan Angels.
Yeah.
Lots of people were extras before they got signed, and then became people, and just became like problems out here.
Mhm.
And it all came out of like the want of having to do it, want of doing this.
What's like the AEW match you point someone to for you?
Oh man. Geez. Uh I think my favorite one is it's me and my one of my other best friends, Ashton Starr, against the Lucha Bros. It's I without without going into too much insider baseball again.
Yeah.
You're only allowed to do so much sometimes,
Yep.
right? And I I will forever be grateful to Pentagon and Phoenix because we had no reason to get as much as we did when we wrestled them, and they really vibe with us. Not only just because of like where we came from, WWE 4, but like just because like they care about this craft, man, and they care about like the future of it and giving people like a chance. We had like a crazy match with them, and it didn't have to be any of that. And I think um, that match, and I had a singles match with Lee Johnson again, the rematch.
Yeah.
Uh, I think those are the two matches that I was able to like to show like the most character, the most of myself in, I guess. And as I say that, you want to take any, and I say this to any of the young people who may or may not hear this or watch this, but like any opportunity to get, you always want to try to show yourself anything that you get. I feel like one of the things that I regret, and I know what nobody asked for this advice, but
Yeah.
I would feel remiss if I didn't drop this
Yeah.
in there and I said all that. Um, One of the things that I regret the most is that the way that I was brought up in pro wrestling, it was very old school in the sense that like when you go to TV, like you're shut up, listen, spoken for spoken to, yes sir, yes ma'am, do the job, go home, shake hands, thank you sir, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And there were lots and lots and lots and lots of times where I probably could have showed way more of myself if I had the knowledge that I had now to like implement more of myself in those situations. And I don't know if it's like time having gone by in hindsight, but with that all being said and knowing this now, I encourage any of the young people who are getting extra work that if you do get these matches, do not be afraid to implement yourself in everything you do.
Yeah, wow. Now I gotta ask you, originally you talk about when you first started with AR Fox, you were part of the first class. You mentioned AC Mack and Austin Theory. I gotta ask you, is there like an AC Mack story that stands out? I know you teamed with him, you were part of, I think it was the Force with him, but do you have any AC Mack stories that stand out?
There's a story that I can't tell that he knows about. And if he ever watches this, he knows which one I'm talking about. It's a WrestleMania story.
Okay.
I hate him so much. Mac is, man, I I've never had a brother, but like he might be the closest thing just because like when you start in this and as far as like we got in this together, like I I couldn't ask for a better person to share that stuff with,
Yeah.
I still talk to him. He was in my wedding. He was one of my best men. Um that's somebody who I'll always treasure. But I'm trying to, as I'm saying all this, I'm trying to think of like a story that I can't tell. A good AC Max story that's just funny. Um, man, mm, I can't tell it, man. I
Yeah.
can't tell it. I know I'm letting everybody down. I
Yeah.
wish it was. Ugh, just
But
know
you
it's
talked
good.
about like what a person he was and all that stuff, especially starting with him and all that. Another one, I gotta ask you, IEC Mack told me he could tell right away. Was it the same way with you that you could just tell Austin Theory was gonna be the star that he was in wrestling?
Yeah, it sucks.
What was like so special at the time for somebody training with him? Like,
He's like uh, he was just a freak, man. He was
okay.
just like anything he could do or anything like you asked him to do, he could do.
Mhm.
And like for him to be like 18, he was 18 when I met him. He, he was like the size of John Cena at 18.
Wow.
So much so that like his first WrestleMania, his first WrestleCon that he went to, he was in a match as John Cena, it was like a battle royal, like a gimmick battle royal
Yeah.
as John Cena. And like they showed it to me because they went and I didn't go to the first one. And they showed it to me, and I was like, oh shit, John Cena's there, and no, it was him. And like he's just a freak, man.
Yeah.
And I personally think, as far as him being on TV, I think he'd operate way better as a baby face.
Mhm.
That's just me.
Wow.
Austin Theory as a baby face would be the next face of the WWE, if you ask me. He's just a hella good baby face. He's everything that they would want from like a baby face, especially a baby face with some grit and stuff, man.
Hmm.
I don't know why they're so pressed on making him a heel, but um if they book him as a baby face, man, I'm just saying. I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
And now I gotta ask you. I know originally before we started this talk, we were talking about how you were originally born in Rhode Island. You said you wrestled in Rhode Island once. Was
Yeah.
it what was it for? Was it XWA or Beyond Wrestling? What was it for?
Um, do you know what
Oh my!
wrestling has it
I
tomorrow?
love What Wrestling. I was probably there.
Yeah. Okay. This was I want to you might have to look at Cage Match. It might be like 2017, 2018,
Yeah, I
something
was
like
like
that.
12, 13 years old. I was at every show.
Nice, nice. Yeah, okay. I came out to Papa Roach. That was my
Okay.
song, Last Resort. I wrestled Bobby Flacco, Tommy Maserati, and Leon Ruff for the WWA 4 Internet Championship. And I lost it, dropped it to Bobby Flacco. I was the longest reigning internet champion. And yeah, dude, I went back and watched that match a couple years ago. Terrible. Terrible. We're just a bunch of green boys, you know, just doing stuff. And boy.
I gotta look. I have a photo. I don't know if you're in it. It's me, Flacco, Alanis, Maserati, Leon Ruff. You might be in. I was like 12 years old for it.
There was one they went back a few times.
Okay.
They went back a few times. Alanis was not at the one that we were at the first time.
Okay.
Um but they went back a few times. Especially
Yeah.
Rough and especially Fox, you know.
Wow.
Um yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
right
I
behind
think
me,
it
I
was
have it.
the first one that I was at, the very
Yeah,
first
right
like
behind me, behind this flag, JT Dunn presented me because I was like the kid growing up to all the shows. He presented me the What Championship because he was like, "Yo, like you were 12 years old when you started, and like you were what everything like what stood for at the time." So I was definitely there. I gotta watch this batch back now.
did they still run?
No, they stopped like during COVID, and then
Oh
JT Dunn took
man.
the belt off Casey Navarro, and then after that, they gave me the championship. Like I was commentating a show.
Oh, so they gave it to you.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome,
Well,
man.
like
That's
I grew
awesome.
up like I said, like when I got to find out I was gonna talk to you, I was pumped because I remember like even the XWA days, AR Fox in theory they would bring down like all the guys a part of the Skulk and all that stuff. So like thank
Yeah.
you for everything because like I grew up watching you.
Yeah. Hey, dude, that's awesome, man. That's wow. Wow. That I don't know whether to feel old or no, but that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah, I always wonder like what happened to what wrestling, man, because that was like because I remember being like, oh, I had only been wrestling for a few years, and I'm like, man, I'm already getting to wrestle in like my birth state.
Mhm.
That's like it's awesome, and wow, yeah, that's really really cool, dude. That's really
Wow.
cool.
Now, when we talk really cool, your resume keeps going and going. Another company that's done great things. How does the opportunity for David Ali go for Action Wrestling?
Oh, yeah, you mean action wrestling like Matt Griffin?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I haven't wrestled for them in like a
How did the
few.
opportunity like come for that? Because even at the time, like I remember AC was wrestling, like Action was like on a roll too.
I was actually like one of the few people that didn't get as many opportunities to run with them. I'm not exactly sure why. I do know I do credit Matt Griffin for the savior character though,
Okay.
just because it was born out of some grievances. But the few times that I did get to work there, I got to wrestle Stevie Richards there, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
And he gave me some wonderful notes. Stevie is a guy that like he could talk. He's like me. He could talk for hours
Yeah.
about wrestling, and except for with him, it's all insightful and like you'll learn something from it. But I I got to get some good reps there at Action Wrestling. and it was fun. It was fun the times that I got to wrestle there. But I will credit Matt Griffin for the savior character because if it was not for him, I don't think I would have. I don't think I would have had the um what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think I would have had the energy to produce the savior the way that he was born.
What was like the idea behind the Savior? I know originally you said when you first started you wanted to do like that cult leader. Later on, you got to do it with the Savior. What were you going for when it comes to the Savior?
So I was doing the Street Fighter
Yep.
and it wasn't going anywhere. And Action was one of the places that I tried to sell it to. And like at the time, when you first start, oh man, there's the guy that I follow on Instagram. Very smart wrestling guy. His name's slipping my brain right now. But he was actually just talking about it. But like guys 3 years in, they start to think they know everything, right? And that's me
Mhm.
at this point in time. So like I thought the Street Fighter should have been booked and it just wasn't hitting. And do I blame anybody for not booking it? No. Because in hindsight now I realized it was just a bland, generic character with no nuances. And that's what you need is nuances because that's what transitions the story from down here into an escalation, right? Um and because I wasn't able to get booked the way I wanted to, I I just got angry and I was then getting booked as a heel. Um, and I was like, man, how can I like air out how I'm feeling? And because every wrestler wants to shoot. Every wrestler wants to shoot, okay? That's the secret. Every wrestler wants to shoot. Every wrestler just doesn't know how to do it, right? Or how to do it without like, you know, getting the wrong type of heat.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was like, man, I really want to air my grievances out in a way that like is entertaining. So like a lot of my grievances were like, okay, if I'm not gonna get booked, then I'm gonna do everything to all your heroes. If it's not gonna be me, it's not gonna be them either. So I was saving everybody from in the sense I was saving everybody from all of the generic booking as a whole.
Okay.
Um, and then there was times where like a lot of the shows at the time in the South or in Georgia
Mhm.
would go by the model of I'll bring in this guy and I'll bring in this guy and they'll wrestle each other instead of bringing in this guy and have him wrestle the hometown guy and make this hometown guy a star. So like that would be a main focus of my grievance as well, is that like we're not producing new stars, but I can do that. I can produce new stars, and I'm going to do it whether you like it or not. Just watch. So you have me on the mid card. If you don't want to bring in those guys that are gonna like push these your hometown baby faces, I'll do it. I'll be the best heel you got. So then I just became something that like I guess couldn't be like unnoticed, because I
Yeah.
could cut promos as the Street Fighter, but I they were just cheesy promos.
Okay.
They had like no real direction. They were this weekend from night to night, I'm gonna fight you, yada yada yada. And with the Savior, I could get real into like it was a quasi, and I'm only simplifying it for like the basic viewer.
Yeah.
It was like a quasi Bray Wyatt meets Negan type
Okay.
um speech pattern, where it would just be like kind of like vulgar, but like borderline vulgar, like things I could say like at a PG
Yeah.
show,
Get away with.
but like
Yeah.
you really had to think about it,
Yeah.
like where's like excrement. Nobody really thinks about excrement like shit. But I could say like excrement in a vile way, and then it really like hits, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Um, but so I would speak like that and like really like um really like um brass tacks terms
Mhm.
like and I also had a bat, a barbed wire bat too. So like if for whatever reason you didn't want, because eventually after I started um proving myself as like a heel, a formative heel,
Hmm.
this is where the cult leader comes in at for that, right?
Okay, yeah.
As soon as I started proving myself as like a formative heel and I could do these things, now whatever wrestler wants to join me can join me. But you go against my coalition, you have to answer to not just me, but you got to answer to my bat, Big Red. And she's Big Red because she causes Big Red, hit
Yeah.
you in the head with that thing. And I decided who got to be in the future of pro wrestling, you know, um, in kayfabe or whatnot.
Yeah.
So instead of like people like bookers at the time in my head, it was like so aimed at Matt Griffin. You don't get to decide who's on the card. I do. You don't
Okay.
get to decide who's like the best. I do. Like, and because I was saying all these things and it was such a believable thing, people like bought. They bought it, and it just helped me out. So another lesson, believe what you say. If you believe in what you're saying, it all becomes copacetic.
Wow. So you talk about action, all the companies. Another one that's even killing it still to this day. How does Memphis Wrestling happen for you?
Um, I Memphis Wrestling was I gotta give all the credit. I was gonna say I was gonna go back and be like I wrestled in Memphis for like X amount of years, whatever, but Memphis Championship Wrestling, I
Hmm.
gotta give all the credit to my wife,
Wow.
Heather Monroe, because
Yeah.
she was the championship wrestling women's champion for a while. And at the time, they were under the same umbrella as Championship Wrestling, the United Wrestling Network, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so she was the champion there. And once Championship Wrestling came to Atlanta, we met. And I was doing shows in Atlanta, and she was doing shows in Atlanta. And once we met and we started dating, she was like, "Yeah, you should come to Memphis. I do the show. I do this version of this show there." And I was like, "Bet, awesome." And I went up with her. I met Dustin Starr,
Hmm.
and he really liked my work. So he put me in a position to help put over some of his guys, and it was to me. I love working like that type of TV,
Yeah.
whether it's live or recorded, because especially for like or with young people, because it really gives I like pushing people and I like being pushed. I like a challenge. And I like when the camera goes on, we have to go to work. It's my catchphrase now. Let's go to work.
Yeah.
And that's my jam. I love that.
Wow. What's the idea behind the Fab and the Furious?
um, we were really, 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 really trying to think of a tag name because, like, we're both wrestlers, right? At this point,
Yeah.
now that her and I are dating, and now engaged and even married, so now we're like, oh man, we're gonna tag together. So how does because by the time I meet Heather, Heather Monroe, who's my wife, that's who
Yeah.
we're all talking about here.
Yeah.
By the time I meet her, the savior had gone from a guy who believed in himself to a guy who believes in himself so much that he was able to do like supernatural things, right?
Okay. Yeah.
He could form a cult, and with that cult and with the belief in himself, he even had like Undertaker powers. So I even had like supernatural powers. The lights came on sometimes, like
Hmm.
there would be static, glitches and things like that. It was so her idea, her gimmick was she was the killer bae. She was a human. So she was like, how can these two things like mesh? And I had to just be a little more human, and um that was fine. It was cool. I can give up the powers. The powers are still in the gimmick. I just have to channel it every once in a while.
Yeah.
Um but the Fab and the Furious was like we needed a name, and honestly, one of the first things that we bonded on were the Fast and the Furious movies,
Okay.
and we were trying to think of a name, and she's Fab, and I'm always the mad one, so Fab and the Furious. It was right there.
Wow. When you look at your career, for everything you got to do, who would you say brings the best out of David Ali?
Oh, jeez, dude, that's a loaded
Yeah,
question,
because you've
man.
wrestled for a while. You've had a lot of good matches, but who would you say brings the best out of you?
That's a loaded question. Um, that's a loaded question. Like overall,
Yeah, people you share the ring with. Yeah.
or like currently, because there's some guys who I haven't wrestled in like a long time, but like have maybe like created an influence.
Okay.
But there's guys who I wrestle now, like off and on, who I'm like, man, I'm so glad I get to wrestle you because you're reminding me of like why like I like doing this.
Okay.
So who brings out the best in me? Wow, that's a loaded question, man.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like there's several people that do that. And I guess I have to think about like the people that I wrestle repeatedly, right?
Mhm.
Um, but then again, like I guess I could think of like different situations that have like made me like, oh man, see, it's a loaded question,
Yeah.
man. I think as far as like somebody who's really challenged me over time though, Alan Angels,
Mhm.
he's somebody who I've wrestled the most out of anybody I've ever wrestled ever.
Mhm.
But like it got to a point where in Georgia, we were always put in like a best of whatever series, right? So we'd have to wrestle each other like 80 times. And I would always be shit in the bed. And he would get so mad because like he like Austin Theory was just always somebody who just got it. He
Okay.
was always so athletically gifted and stuff. And it just took me some time, brother. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It just took me some time, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but we were always in these matches together. And he would always sit down in a chair that we would call the Allen Angels chair of doom, where we go have a match and he come back and he sit down and be like, and then we had to think about like what went wrong, and I had to be like, fuck. So like when we wrestle each other now, especially since he's been signed, since I've done TV, and since especially since because I think the iteration of myself now, David Ali Wrestling, is the most complete version of my character. So I think the last couple of times I've wrestled him now, leaving Georgia and since being in Chicago, I think every time I've wrestled him, I've had in the back of my head, I, I gotta prove to him that like I'm just as good as either the last time or way better than the last time, you know. Um, and I nowadays wrestle people like Ace Perry and JDX a lot,
Mhm.
and those guys really bring out the creative and athletic side of me, and I'm able to just like go in and just have like these matches where I can just turn my brain off and really like get lost in what we're doing. And that's where like the best true art comes out. And I love them so much for that. Ace Perry even goes as far as to say that we're married in wrestling. Just cause like every time we wrestled, like knock on wood, I think this is made of wood. Um we've never like nothing has gone wrong,
Wow.
and yeah, and we've always been able to like produce something that's like that's entertaining. I actually there was like a meme, or not a meme, but like there was like a post on Instagram that went out that was like it was about like CM Punk and Roman Reigns being like Shawn Michaels and Undertaker,
Mhm.
and I sent that to him, and I was like, "This is what I think of when I think about me and you wrestling. Like
Wow.
that's how I feel when we wrestle." Um, and I there's another match that I feel like that type of match brings out the best in me, but it's a match that I haven't had like this in like a very long time.
Yeah.
Um, but I wrestled Kylie Ray for the second championship for a promotion called Second Wrestling,
Mhm.
and we were in oh, man, we were in Chicago, and that's like Cena. That's like Cena in 2010 wrestling Punk in Chicago
Yeah.
for the belt. You know, it was insane. They were just it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
But they on the second page and on my page. But
Hmm.
they were just all about Kylie, man. And I was up as a babyface for like, I just won the belt. Everybody was behind me. And anywhere I went at second, like, Ali, Ali. And then I get here to wrestle Kylie. They just boo the shit out of me. It's insane. And
Wow.
I'm like, oh man. And I love challenges. And that's what I love. And I'm like, can I work them back onto my side? Um, and we had the whole program was set around, ironically enough, it was set around a similar storyline like the Cena Cody Rhodes storyline
Okay.
where like hometown babyface is going heel, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, you don't deserve this belt. And how come I've never been here to second and stuff like that? And I'm Chicago's baby or whatever. And I'm like, Kylie, we're friends. Because we've known each other like our whole careers. I'm like, Kylie, we're friends. We had a wedding. Heather and I got married in real life, and then we had a wedding at second, and she crashed it. And all kinds of crazy cool stuff.
Yeah.
She crashed it. She beat up Carly Bravo and Sean Dean, who were my best friend or my best men at the wedding,
Yeah.
who I was wrestling that night. Um, and like I centered the whole match on like I'm gonna bring back Smiley Kylie Ray and I'm gonna shake her hand. I'm gonna bring her back. And so we had this match and where they just booed the shit at me. And at the end, I beat her. They still boo the shit out of me. And I'm like, listen, Kylie, it's about the handshake. And I bring it home and like they cheered for it because they understood the story. They knew what the
Yeah.
story was, and we told the story. And um we I brought them back around, we both brought them back around. And there's not a lot of times where, if ever actually, where like I've wrestled somebody and especially somebody who's either the same time as me or my vet, either by experience or by time, and we've had a match and they put me over in the ring. Not that I ever asked for it, and not that I'm yearning for it or anything like that, but there's
Yeah.
never been a time where that's ever happened. I'm usually the one that does that for like these people, for the people that I wrestle that are either the vice versa to me, right?
Hmm.
And then Kylie does that to me. Um, and it was insane because I respect her,
Yeah.
and she's an incredible talent also, as we all know. And I think those three, I guess four if you count JDX and Ace,
Hmm.
I guess those four are like the ones I think bring the best out of me here lately.
Wow.
There's probably others that like I'm not even thinking of like GPA and Laney. But training with them brings out the best in me. Um, my wife,
Hmm.
being married to her brings the best out of me. But
Yeah.
as far as like in matches are concerned, I think that has
Wow.
to be my answer for now, I guess.
Yeah. So you obviously during this interview, you could tell the passion you had for pro wrestling. So was giving back and training something you wanted to do since the start, or when did that idea come? And how did you land on Fit Capri School?
I actually was very, 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 very against training
Wow.
for a very long time. Just because the more often you go to training schools, the more you realize that like there are some trainers, especially who are still active, who don't 100% put a focus on their trainees because they are still active. And it's not like their fault. It's
Mhm.
just because they're still active. And then there are a lot of trainers who take money from these guys and they just teach them elbow drop, lock up, go home, or that's good, kid. Keep coming back. I'll keep taking your money. And that was what the problem was to me because now I'm going out and I'm wrestling these people who it's become easy for now because if I am being honest, the 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 what's the word I'm looking for? Um the wrestling culture has changed a lot, especially for younger people coming into the business. They expect a lot more.
Mhm.
They want a lot more, which is nothing wrong with wanting a lot more. But like, there's a difference between being humble and like wanting to work for the want and then like expecting the want or demanding the want. And there's just a lot of like there's just a lot of people, a lot of younger people who are being either brought up the wrong way or not being brought up at all and just being trained to like do things and getting their money taken and then they get sent out and then I gotta wrestle and then I gotta possibly get hurt and I'm not about that life. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
if I could do anything to like educate and like keep wrestling going with the knowledge that I've gained from either like AEW or the Performance Center or like from Fox or from QT or anything like that, then I feel like that's my responsibility as somebody who's been and who keeps putting themselves out there into these rings and stuff, you know? So I I was training with GPA and Laney for a little bit there. When I first got here, they took me in. Um, amazing people,
Yeah.
amazing people. Um, very happy for Lainey and everything that she's accomplishing right now. She's living the dream for all of us.
She
Um,
won the belt in Rhode Island.
yeah, you know, and I told her she's not gonna care or even know how special that is to me because again, I'm living vicariously through her. You
Yeah.
know, I'm gonna be 40 pretty soon,
Wow.
and I don't know if I do know what my chances are gonna be like for the feds. You know, they're real slim. You know,
Mhm.
especially for one of them.
Mhm.
So like, I'm living vicariously through her,
Mhm.
and I'm sure like GPA is too. But she's doing it for all of us right now, you know.
Yeah.
Very, very, very proud of her. But I trained with them for a little while, and I just again I was coming across like some of these like guys who just weren't getting why they were doing the things they were doing. They can do arm drag, they can do leapfrog, they can do everything well. They can execute those things, but they're putting them here, they're putting them there, and they're going through them and they're just throwing away lockups and not really caring about headlocks and not really caring about the things that like make it wrestling and further stories and transition from point A to point B to where we need to go. And you know, it comes with like lack of communication of why we're doing the things we're doing. And um I met Vic and I met Vic at Ironheart like a couple years ago during the shows and stuff,
Okay.
and I
Yeah.
realized he was training in Chicago, and I needed a place to train that was helpful to my budget, and I really couldn't find anywhere to help me out with that, and Vic was helping me out with that, and I learned that him and I are like on the same wavelength as far as like how we feel about like the how the education is and how it should be done as far as like psychology is concerned because like every school is different, right? Every school will teach um or every school's base is fundamentally different, right? You'll
Yeah.
have like a
Yeah.
lucha based school, you'll have you'll have like an American wrestling based school, Japanese, um, sports entertainment, and ours is more like psychology, um, more of like psychology, like American wrestling, and I only do like a Wednesday night class at the Ice Pick, and I usually just call that more of like a molding class where
Okay.
it focuses on the psychology and why you are doing the things that you're doing. So like it's not necessarily more so like traditional, like, all right, we're all gonna do drills and we're all gonna work on like the same things and we're all gonna do like the same footwork type things because I'm able to work with like maybe um like 5 to 6 people at a time, I can be a little more intimate and I can help like people work on things specific to them. And that's what I like.
Nice.
I like helping people out with like their characters or gimmicks and like just helping them fine tune things, you know. Nobody um I wouldn't say nobody ever took the time out to do that with me, but there's like a million wrestlers, you know, and I would never expect anybody to be able or want or even notice me to be like, hey, I'm gonna pick you out and like help you like specifically, you know. The only person that ever did that for me was AJ Styles.
Hmm.
And he's like the only he's the only guy that I know of anyway. There could be guys out there that I just don't know about because the conversations happen behind doors that we
Yeah.
just don't know. But he's the only person I know about that actually went to bat for me.
Wow.
And yeah, that's how I secured a WWE tryout. And it's because we trained for a while and he saw my potential. He believed in what I was capable of. And that's the kind of thing that I want to pass on to like other people. It's like that kind of confirmation and that kind of guidance, you know?
Yeah. So, like I said, when I was 12 years old, I was watching David Ali kill it. And all these years later, he's still doing the same. You talk about training and everything. What are the goals, if you have any, for David Ali nowadays in wrestling? Is it to continue giving back and killing in wrestling? What are you trying to do nowadays when it comes to wrestling?
Right. That's always been a thing, right?
Yeah.
I've always been a goal oriented person. And once you cross a certain threshold, um, in age, you start to realize where those avenues are capable of going, right?
Yeah.
Um, you can look at it as an unfortunate thing. You can look at it as a glass half full or a glass half empty
Yeah.
like situation, you know. But at the risk of bringing everybody down, I you know, I really didn't know for a while there like what I was going to do next because realizing that you are going to be crossing a certain threshold, you know, you do realize that again, your avenues are one by one getting clipped.
Hmm.
Um, so what do you do this for? I was talking to a really good friend of mine, and they were telling me um, you have to know your why, you know, and why you do this. And once you find out your why, remember your why and do it for your why. And um, you know, it would be easy to say that like I'd love to just keep like going out there and wrestling, you know, for the younger people in wrestling just to like help them out. And sure that's part of it.
Yeah.
And of course I love the fans, you know, the ones that do um participate in uh what I'm trying to cultivate, you know. Um, but my wife and I are going to have a son, Clark, in June, and I think, as far as I'm concerned, like when he's born, when he becomes of age to like realize like what dad does, it's gonna be really, really, really time for me to like start trying to put things up, right?
Hmm.
And I'm determined to give him something that he can go back and look at, hold on to, or have to be proud of. So like I think at this point in time, like all of this will be for him, you know, no
Wow.
matter what scale anybody looks at it on, you know. I have friends that sometimes I can't talk about all this to, all the indie stuff too, because they're on TV, it's probably not as important, you know, or it's still like me not trying to get to the big leagues, you know, or whatnot. But everything I do, everything I touch, everything that I want to participate in, everything that I put my energy towards is going to be for the betterment of David Ali Wrestling, which is for the betterment of what Clark's going to get to know his dad did.
Wow. Well, David, I can't thank you enough for joining me and for everything over these years. However, every conversation I've done has ended the same. When it's all said and done in wrestling, which isn't happening anytime soon, when it's all said and done, what do you want David Ali's legacy in pro wrestling to be?
Honestly, I just at the risk of again sounding cheesy, I feel like that's a part of my gimmick too, is being a cheese ball. That's what my wife says. Um, I just um, I just want to be respected. That's all I want to do. I just want to be respected for the craft, and because the craft is what matters at the end of the day. And I think um, like I tell younger people who are like 18 and like who are like still in school or still like trying to do school and like training. I always say, make sure that this is something that you want to sacrifice a portion of your life for. Because if it is not something you want to do that for, you are going to sacrifice your life for nothing. And I've sacrificed so much, so many relationships with my family, jobs, money, living situations, um, just all kinds of things for this craft, and it's because I believe in it, and it's one of the only things I've ever been good at, or I thought I was ever good at, and it's something that like I really believe is the last form of Shakespeare. It's never gonna die. It's always gonna be there. It influences our movies. It influences our action shows. It influences our politics. It influences everything.
Yeah.
It's Wrestling is the heartbeat of America, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. And the reason for that is the independent scene because it's the life thread from Monday to Friday, from Wednesday to Saturday. We're the ones keeping it alive and we're the ones pumping them out, man. And for I even think sometimes that uh that the independents are harder than TV sometimes because like man you got to go out there with like very little cash,
Mhm.
very little motivation, if you will, and you don't get all the safety nets, and you don't get a machine behind you either to tell everybody that you are the best or that you could be the best or that you should be the best. And you have to do all of that your own self. You have to bring the crowd up yourself. You have to make them cheer yourself. And at the end of the day, again, I guess to bring that right back all the way around is
Yeah.
I just want to be respected for respecting this.
Wow. Well, David, I can't thank you enough. Like I said, I was first introduced to you when I was like 12. The fact that I'm 21, we got to do this podcast. Thank you for everything, genuinely.
Course, man. This was really cool, man. This is like one of the this is I really like this one. I
Same.
I've done a lot of these, obviously,
Mhm.
and not all these are as fun. So I
Appreciate
appreciate
it.
it.
Thank you. And you have a storied career, so maybe down the line we do a part two or something.
Hey, listen, you're very complimentary of what I've done. I really appreciate it. And hopefully, yeah, hopefully soon or hopefully in the next few years, hopefully like it'll be like on a bigger stage, if you will.
Nice. Well, thank you for doing this, and thank you everybody for watching this episode. This was Best for Business.
Thank you for watching this episode of Best for Business. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, because this is Best for Business.